What's your favorite memory with Richard and Seattle?
Well, there's plenty. I guess the one of the last ones, the tip where Malcolm intercepted it. Sorry, Niner fans.
You guys ever talk about that now? How weird it is that you, Malcolm, and Richard are all here?
No, you know what? I guess it goes without saying. In this profession, you're going to see no locations. It's very rare that you get to start and finish your career with one team. So, coaches, players, everyone, it's quite the gift if you're able to.
What's your sense of Richard's mindset this week?
Focused. He's very focused. I mean, he's always focused, but he's really locked in, and he's excited to get a chance to go up there and play.
Obviously, that was a kind of a special place and time with what they had going on there. Do you think, just based on the way the league is trending towards offenses, that some of the rules and things like that, that'll ever be replicated again?
Yeah, no, I do. It's defenses always catch back up, and so you know there's something to be said with being able to play consistently, and obviously I do believe defenses will catch up. We always do. So whatever the offense has been able to put on tape this year, the defenses will figure it out and make their adjustments. So I do think it definitely can be replicated.
How much of a role do you think Richard had in sort of forming that defensive identity, not only just for the Seahawks, but the scheme overall? What was the scheme and those fundamentals, were they in place as they are now before Richard got there, or did the way he kind of played it sort of identify it for those guys?
That we were talking about, Sherman and I. You know, like when Coach Carroll first got there, that first year they were 25th or something like that in defense. And then the very next year, which was my first year, we got to the top half of the league in the 10 to 15 range. And then that was Sherman's rookie year also. And then the very next year, we got to one in defense, fourth in yards, there was a progression. So there was a bunch of guys playing together for a very long time, and then that fourth season is when Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett showed up, and that's when that was the 2013 year. So there's something to be said with the way it was built and the way those guys grew together and all the different issues that teams tried to attack us with, and them being able to talk to each other, and all that consistency is a big part of it. And it started, and he was there from year 2 and on, and because of it, there was such great continuity with that group that they were able to grow together and really master the entire scheme.
You've had defenses would catch back up. Do you think that will require rule changes?
No, I don't think you'll ever get to the old 85 Bears where, you know, offenses can find yards very easily. But in terms of playing good, sound, fundamental defense with all the different things, all the different motions, teams are moving, motioning, jet sweeps more than they ever have. And once defenses rule out schemes to slow all that stuff down, it's just my opinion, eventually it'll catch up. Will yards be elevated? Yes. Will the points be at the record pace they are? I don't think that it can sustain. If it does, I don't know if that's very good for the league personally. So.
What are your thoughts just with Ruben's arrest, just release, and that not working
Say
out?
that one more time, sorry.
What are your thoughts just with Ruben's arrest, release, and the fact that it didn't work out here?
It's unfortunate. I'll still stand by that. Ruben, you know, he's a tremendous talent, and when you know, and I do believe that Kyle and John did everything possible to create an atmosphere where he could be successful, and for one reason or another, it just didn't pan out. But I do wish him the best, and I hope he gets right, because he is a special talent.
Was the dip in play this year because of that shoulder, because of those injuries?
There was a bunch of things for Ruben. I don't know if he had so much a dip in play, but when the consistency of he's suspended for 2 games, and I've got injuries, and I'm missing a couple games, and then I've got things going on in life. It's been a rough year for him, and I wish him the best of luck in terms of just getting right, because when he gets right, he's a good football player, which we all saw his rookie year.
What went into the decision to give Fred the green dot instead of
It goes back to what I mentioned earlier about Fred. He's one of the smartest interviews I've ever had, and he can take in information better than anyone I've been around. He's up there with Paul Postlesny to me, and Paul Postlesny was darn near a rocket scientist. So when you look at Ruben's personality, he wants to run, hit, and hurt. That's his personality. So just let him go do that. And not that he wasn't capable of playing the mic, because he's very, very capable. He's very intelligent, very smart. So, but with when it came to Fred, just his intelligence and his IQ is off the charts. So
I understand there's more that goes into wearing the green dot than just parroting what you say in his microphone. Could you take us through his responsibilities from the whistle to the snap of the next play, like what he has to do in between plays?
Fred?
Yeah.
First, he has to hear all my mumbo jumbo, and then he's got to get the defense lined up. And then from there, we strain the daylights out of him in terms of recognizing offense, recognizing indicators, recognizing receiver splits, to step back and recognize the formation. So that is a very, very hard thing to do when you're busy trying to get the defense set, and then to reset yourself to recognize what's happening while you're getting aligned, to be able to communicate all the checks. If there's motion, what are we getting to? If there's if they go to empty, what are we doing? If they go from empty to one back, what are we doing? If we have a double-digit call where it could, based on formation, what are we doing? He's responsible for all that, not just by himself, because we ask everyone to do that, but he's the trump card. So what the mic says, we play, no matter what, even if he's wrong. And knock on wood, he's been getting so much better as the years goes, and it's so much smoother. And when you talk about the Mike linebacker and having presence in front of the huddle, he's staring at a bunch of veterans. For them to have trust and belief in what is coming out of his mouth is truth. That's more important than anything. And because of what he's been able to do, his study habits and his work habits, he's got full trust of the huddle, and because of it, those guys can trust that their play will be right.
When the offense goes up tempo, are there times where there's just not enough time for you to call a play and get it in, and he has to actually call it himself?
He has to call it himself.
Do you have an example of a time that he's done it well?
He's done it. The Rams game, he was able to take control, and we limit the calls, obviously, of what we want him to do. But the Rams game where they were shifting in and out of different tempos, going no huddle, and he couldn't hear me for one reason or another. If he can't hear me or the microphone comes out, the headset goes out, just take charge, get us into our home defense, and let's roll.
At the will spot, with Malcolm starting and kind of rotating with Elijah, does it depend on Malcolm's health, or is it a matchup?
Mainly Malcolm's health. We want him to play, and when he plays, he's pretty good. But he's hurting with his foot, but he's fighting, which we greatly appreciate.
Where's Marcell Harris at in his development, and is he challenging potentially to start at strong safety, maybe move?
He's coming along. He is. He's coming along. He's I compare him to what happened to Miles Jack when he came out. We had him in Jacksonville. Miles missed the entire season, missed all OTAs because of the Big 12 rule, and then he came out, and it was almost like Bambi trying to get his feet back. By the middle of the season, you could see him start getting his burst and all that. That's what we're seeing out of Marcell. Missed all of last year, missed OTAs, missed part of training camp, came back. His feet are slowly starting to get underneath him, and he's showing some pretty cool explosiveness and all that stuff. So continue to work, continue to get better, and his opportunity will come.
You mentioned thinking that the points will eventually kind of come back a little bit. In terms of edge rushers, obviously those guys are always been important. But when you look around the league now and you see maybe a guy makes a play or two that can kind of turn a game, do you think there's even more emphasis on having those guys who can change the game from that position?
There's always been it's always been a premium in our mind anyway. Those guys change games. You look at that Chiefs Rams game from a couple of weeks ago, the explosiveness of the playmakers to get the ball really swung the pendulum, I think. It's in the fourth quarter, it's about closing the door somehow on defense, whether in the back end making a play, up front winning a one-on-one, as a coach getting the right pressure or coverage called. So it's all of us combined. And but I do. It's never, especially in our scheme, it's never been a lack of importance. The premium has always been there.
That's good.
Have you had any contact with Ruben? Have you surprised at all that Washington picked him up?
I've talked to Ruben, and I hope he does great. So.
Robert, I'm sure you're probably tired of talking about takeaways, but in light of this past week's game, are you changing your technique for how you address that week to week, or what are you doing to try to make sure something changes?
You don't change. It's there's an old saying, they come in bunches. You know, it's like water's stuck at the dam. If we can get one log out, the water will just flush through. It's all the same thing. Pick the olive from the jar, and all the olives will come out. But it's all the same. And we've had so many opportunities. Fred had an opportunity in the game against Tampa. We've had the ball out. I made mention of it last week. We're in the middle of the pack in terms of forced fumbles. And we just, eventually the ball's got to bounce our way, and I'm pretty excited when it does, because when it does, it's going to come in one big flurry of bunches. So I'm excited about it.
Robert, people say middle linebacker is a quarterback of the defense. I see Fred studying a lot of film in the locker room on his off time. Does the middle linebacker have to study film like a quarterback? I mean, is the level of preparation greater than other positions on defense?
I think they all do, but for the Mike linebacker, in my mind, absolutely, because he's got 10 people in mind. That 10 people are counting on him to get them lined up. Even though everyone's responsible for their own alignments and getting lined up, there's still, like I said, he's the trump card, and his voice has to be the loudest to get people lined up, and he's got to do it with great conviction. And you can't have great conviction unless you know what you're doing. So that's what makes him special.
Robert, just one last thing. You had alluded earlier about the memory of the game against the Niners, and now that Malcolm and everybody, you guys are all together. If you could just kind of just peel back the onion just a little bit on that play. I mean, they kept going to Crabtree, and just kind of what you saw, your emotions maybe before that play happened, and the aftermath after it occurred.
You know, it was the first time they tried Sherm all game, and the most underrated part of that entire thing, because Sherm did his deal, was the fact that Malcolm was running the football the way he was, because he was supposed to be 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, not doing anything, and he hustled to the ball, and when it happened and he caught it, I blacked out for a little bit. I think Coach Quinn punched me in the face by accident, so there's a lot of things going on in the booth, but no, it was a pretty cool moment. All right, thanks everybody.